Nature. It can be breathtaking, full of moments that remind you of its beauty. The simple joy of a kangaroo and her joey, or a bee buzzing from flower to flower. But nature can also be cruel. In the last week, we have faced the raw, unforgiving side of the wilderness. 9 of our 11 chickens gone. Among them our rooster, Crowe, taken by a predator we never expected, never imagined would come close to our home. This wasn't just any predator, it was an apex predator, one of Australia's most elusive and endangered species, but I'll get to that soon. For now, we'll try to carry on, trying to find balance in this place that gives us so much, but at times can take so much more. A kangaroo with her joey passes by, nibbling at the grass, while a honeybee dances around the rosemary, collecting pollen. We were in the middle of making dinner, roast veggies in the barbecue, when the smell of smoke wafted through the air. Fear grips us again. Could it be a fire threatening to take everything away from us again? Our next door neighbour's sheep stand beside the flames, unbothered, as if the fire was an old friend. Still, the sight of the smoke always brings unease. So this fence right here is our boundary fence between our property and our neighbour's property. We rush to check out the fire, but it's only our neighbour purposely burning his land. Puppy. We head up the hill on our property to get a better view. She's jumped out.
She gone. Oh, they've gone straight across to the other. Oh, there's...
Our dog Truffles, always on the move, leaps from the car window, chasing a kangaroo up the hill. We've worked hard to fix the gates and fences, hoping to keep her from the wildlife, but she's still determined to show them who's boss. The fire is extremely close to our property, and Truffles wants to get back in the car now. And for those of you that have been following us along on our journey for a long time, you'll know that we had a fire that swept through our property and burnt about 90% of our land about a year ago. So you can understand why we might be feeling a little bit nervous. Our dog Truffles has spotted a Wallaroo just outside the gate, and she sees the Wallaroo as a new friend to play with. You can see her tail wagging with excitement, as if she's convinced they'll invite her to join in. And when they bound away, Truffles tries to jump along with them, mimicking their leaps, almost like she's pretending to be one of them. The night falls, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. I usually use my afternoons and evenings to reflect on the day and also to plan for the future. Today's lessons have taught me that life doesn't always give you what you ask for, but it always gives you what you need. The moment I stopped trying to be successful and living up to everyone else's standards was the moment that I actually began to enjoy the little pleasures, like watching the stars dancing in the moonlit sky, or watching the sun shine down on my flowers on a glorious spring morning. The nectarine tree bursts in pink flowers, while wildflowers in yellow and purple carpet the ground. I feel like spring has finally come. Our fruit trees, wrapped in frost cloth for the winter, we're just now unwrapping them, and they're blossoming with new life. This one is our crabapple tree. It looks like it's been strangled and smothered by these peas that have grown up from the pea mulch that we used around the base of the tree. So we'll get rid of those and clean the area up a bit to give the tree a little bit more room to grow.
Yeah, it still looks healthy and alive.
The cherry and the plum trees both have a little bit of growth coming through. The rose hips bloom bright red against the dry love grass, and it all feels like a dream, a reminder of how beautiful this wild place can be. Living off-grid, it's a choice that pulls you away from the noise of the world and roots you in the raw, untamed beauty of nature. Out here in the middle of nowhere, Australia feels both wild and infinite. We live in a shed, and sometimes the conveniences of modern life, just like being able to switch on a light, feel like a distant memory. It's definitely not a glamorous life, and it's not always easy. Our power comes from the sun mostly, but only when it shines, and our water is collected and cherished. Puppy! Our creek bed, dry for nearly a year, used to flow so beautifully. Sometimes I have to pinch myself, wondering if it's all real, the beauty and the harshness of this place. And this is the moment that Paul realised that we probably put the solar panels on the shed roof in the wrong area. We see that the trees that we protected with the old chook feed bags are holding up quite well. These ones are Cootamundra wattles, and I get so excited about how they're going to look when they get bigger. We've actually just enrolled in a course about wattles coming up soon. Smoke rises in the distance again. It's just our neighbour burning off once more, but I still feel that knot in my stomach, that nervousness. After only a day or two, all the fruit trees that we just took the frost cloth off just burst to life. All these new leaves and flowers everywhere. So it's just so beautiful to watch it happen. Even the lemon tree has flowered. Tiny lemons already taking shape. Among the resilience of this land, there are small miracles that keep us going. The red spinach, it comes back again, painting the garden with its rich burgundy leaves. There's something about that colour in the garden so bold, so full of life, that catches my eye every time I walk outside the shed. There are so many trees we've kept in pots, waiting for the right moment to plant them in our food forest. Some are for us and some are for just the birds and the bees. This year we've learnt so much, how to protect our plants and nurture them through the cold months. But another exciting development is that Paul and I have enrolled in a permaculture course. So it's going to be every Saturday for about 6 weeks, I think. And it's run by a lady called Lana in our local area, only about probably 5 kilometres from our property. So we're super excited to get started with that. And look at this beautiful bunching shallot flower. Hopefully it'll just spread seed everywhere. We've decided that we'll probably move our mint into a bit more of a shady spot to hopefully help it grow better. So we've got a few trees in pots that we're hopefully going to get into the ground today. This is one of the mulberry trees or mulberry cuttings that were given to me from my mum, and I can see that they've just got a little bit of green leaves coming through. So they've survived the first winter here. So we're pretty excited about that, and hopefully when we put them in the ground with a little bit of compost mixed into the soil, that'll help them feel super healthy. So we've planted the mulberry tree over the back near the compost heap, and basically mulberries need at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight, and they like well draining, slightly acidic to neutral soils, and they can grow really large. So we need to make sure that we're planting them at least 6 meters away from any other trees, so to give them room to spread. So that it's quite close to the pink lady tree that we've planted out the back there, and also we're just about to add another loquat tree out the back as well. So they'll be hopefully about 4 to 6 meters away from each other.
Okay, so in the shed.
And so for the mulberry tree, we dug a hole that was about 2 to 3 times the width of the root ball and about the same depth. And then we mixed some of the compost that was well decomposed, I guess, into the soil to enrich it at the bottom before we put the mulberry into the hole. When we planted the mulberry tree, we tried to make sure that it was at or slightly above the ground level, and then we backfilled the hole with the amended soil, gently pressing down to eliminate any air pockets. Then we watered the tree well, and we added some fertilizer as well. Mulberries are drought tolerant once they're established, but they need consistent watering in the first year. So we need to water the mulberry deeply about once or twice a week, depending on the weather, to keep the soil evenly moist but not waterlogged. Creating your own compost is a great way to recycle organic waste and enrich your garden soil. We just bought one of these regular compost bins from Bunnings, I think it was, and we just picked a spot that was well drained and also gets a fair bit of sun. So you need to have a good mix of greens and browns. So greens are the nitrogen-rich materials like fruit and vegetable scraps, coffee grounds, fresh grass clippings and plant trimmings, etc. And the browns are like the carbon-rich material such as dry leaves, straw, cardboard, newspaper and small branches. And you're meant to alternate your layers, so you add greens and browns in alternating layers. This creates airflow and promotes faster decomposition. So you need to maintain some moisture as well. So the compost should be as damp as a wrung out sponge. If it's too dry, sprinkle some water onto it, and if it's too wet, add some more browns. And every couple of weeks you need to turn the pile with a pitchfork or a shovel to aerate it and speed up the decomposition process. And as the compost breaks down, it generates heat. So when the pile cools down, it's time to turn it. The internal temperature should reach between about 55 to 65 degrees Celsius or 130 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit for optimal decomposition. And it can take up to 6 months to fully decompose. So finished compost will be dark, crumbly and earthy smelling. And we just sort of grabbed the bits that were fully decomposed, and the bits that weren't decomposed, we added them back into the new compost pile when we moved the compost bin. And we also peg down our compost bin into the ground to keep it secure, and we also put a heavy rock on top of it to keep out any animals, and fingers crossed it's worked so far. And we shouldn't really need to worry about that too much anymore now that we've got the compost bin inside our fenced off area around our shed. Next on our list of trees to put into the ground is a lipstick maple. It's a variety of Japanese maple tree, known for its stunning red or deep purple foliage, especially during the fall. The tree is called lipstick because its leaves resemble vibrant red lipstick, particularly when they emerge in spring. Lipstick maples are prized for their compact size, making them perfect for smaller gardens or as ornamental trees in larger landscapes. We've used some wood shavings as mulch for now because we don't have anything else at the moment. We use it for our dry composting toilet and our animal bedding as well. So it was just handy to have. And so when you put mulch down, you just have to remember not to let the mulch touch the stem or the trunk of the tree. We've been nurturing this Choco Vine that we grew from basically from a choco for probably about 3 or 4 months. We have had it sitting inside by the fireplace for probably 3 or 4 months, just helping it feel comfortable to grow. But we transplanted it out into our yard, but I think it might have been a little bit too early because the day that we planted it out, the winds were so strong and it was really warm for about a week, but then it got really cold. So I don't know if our Choco Vine will survive, unfortunately. So we're also transplanting our cutleaf wattle out into the ground as well. It's a beautiful, fast-growing Australian native shrub or small tree. It's prized for its weeping habit and fine, feathery foliage, which can range from vibrant green to a silvery grey depending on the variety. And the cutleaf wattle is often used in landscaping due to its striking appearance and adaptability. It can grow between 3 to 10 metres in height depending on the variety and the conditions. It has a soft fern-like leaf that creates a graceful weeping effect, and it produces small, pale yellow ball-shaped flowers typically in winter or spring, and it's drought and frost tolerant once established, though it does prefer a mild climate. It likes well-drained soil as wattles dislike waterlogged conditions. It prefers a sunny to partially shaded position, and if you're in an area prone to strong winds, it is good to try to provide some wind protection, especially for young plants. So over the last few years, we've come to realise that rosemary grows really well in this environment. And rosemary is a fragrant, woody perennial herb native to the Mediterranean region. It's got needle-like leaves and it's commonly used in cooking for its aromatic qualities, especially with roasted meats, vegetables and breads. And in addition to this, rosemary has an ornamental and it also has medicinal applications. Rosemary is relatively easy to grow and thrives in warm, dry conditions, and it prefers well-draining soil with a slightly sandy texture. It doesn't like soggy roots, so I'm worried about this because where it is positioned at the moment, because as you might have seen, the bottom of the hole was kind of filling up with water, so it could be that there's a bit of clay on the bottom of this hole. This herb loves full sun, needing 6 to 8 hours of sunlight daily, so you need to choose a sunny spot in your garden. And rosemary is also drought tolerant once established, so water it moderately, allow the soil to dry out between waterings and avoid overwatering. The rosemary prefers warm climates but can tolerate cooler temperatures, so if it's protected from frost in colder regions, it's fine. But we actually didn't really need to protect our well-established rosemary this winter, so that was great. It's good to prune rosemary regularly to promote bushier growth and prevent it from becoming too woody. You cut back the leggy stems or dead or damaged branches, but avoid cutting into the older, woodier parts of the plant. And so far, we haven't had any issues with pests or diseases or mildew or anything like that, so it's been great. After we have all the plants in the ground, I feel a sense of real joy come over me. When you realise that joy is more like a flickering firefly than a burst of fireworks, more like a bird song than the grandeur of an orchestra, she'll visit you more often. We've transplanted some special native plants today that belong to this land just as much as the rocks in the sky. This is our munt tree, a bush tucker plant that produces tiny sweet berries. We hope it thrives here and brings us a taste of the wild that's been enjoyed for thousands of years. And here's our daisy bush, its silver leaves swaying in the wind, adding another layer of texture to this rugged garden. But this one is something truly special, the endangered Tenterfield Mint Bush. We still have quite a few trees that are in pots that are root bound and really needing to get out into the ground to be free, but that's for another day. This mulberry has made it through its first winter out here, and we thought it was going to die, but it looks like it's got a tiny little bit of growth, which is great. During the night we heard our chickens cackling, piercing through the dark, but being inexperienced with predators, we dismissed it. We didn't worry. We went back to sleep. But when the morning light came, we found 5 chickens dead. Hold it up again. Does it have its head bitten off or its neck?
No, but the rooster lost its neck and half its. Poor Russell.
The nights brought tragedy. A Quoll, elusive and fierce, came down from the shadows and claimed 9 of our beloved chickens. We had grown complacent, thinking they were safe, because for nearly a year they roamed in this pen, and then all at once they were gone. Caught in the act on the second night, the Quoll, with its primal instincts, took away the life that once thrived here. Even Russell Crowe, our feisty feathered companion, was not spared. And as much as it pains us, we know it was our fault for not securing their sanctuary better. A harsh reminder that out here, survival is as wild as the land itself. Yet life continues, and spring is in the air, and nature persists, undeterred by the loss that weighs heavy on our hearts. With the fruit trees growing and flowering so well, perhaps it's a good sign that soon there will be fruit to come.